Friday has been extremely active for severe weather, and yet again today we do have another enhanced risk for severe weather today, a slight risk as we go into tomorrow, Wednesday, May 29th, and Thursday, May 30th. We have another slight risk as well. And we're also going to be talking about early June forecast in today's video. So if you are not a subscriber here to my channel, Weather on the Go, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for the latest accurate weather information right at your fingertips. Also, make sure to press the like button down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below as well. I'll get to those after the video. So let's look here at the weather pattern early this week. You have a trough out east and we have a ridge out west. The trough is going to bring us some more unsettled weather for portions of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast here, and even parts of southeastern Canada as well, where the ridge out west will bring us drier weather, but also hotter weather for the western U.S. and the southern U.S. as we go into early this week. Now, as we go into later this week, look at the pattern here, how it changes just a little bit. We have a trough introduced across the northern Rockies and southwestern Canada. That will temper the heat for those areas and push the heat a little bit further south toward the Gulf Coast and into Mexico and South Texas here, especially when we have a trough out east as well. So let's look at our temperatures as we go through the day today. Pretty hot down there across the south and the southeast near the coastlines, especially of the Gulf Coast and the southeast coast. Look at that. Southern Texas today, outside of any thunderstorms, we're going to be seeing temperatures soaring into the lower 100s. As we go into Wednesday tomorrow, very hot again across the south, mid-upper 90s, including the peninsula there of Florida. As we go into Thursday, May 30th, same thing, more triple-digit heat across the south. And as we go into Friday as well, I think we start to temper the heat a little bit and move it further south toward Mexico. We're still getting some cooler air across the southern plains here. At least we get a little relief as we get into late here into May. So let's look at our severe weather chances, because with the heat comes the storms. We do have an enhanced risk for severe storms across the southern plains. That is a level 3 out of 5 on the risk scale. We also have a couple smaller areas of concern for a marginal risk of severe weather, one up here into eastern Oregon, central and northern Idaho, and western Montana, and another area in the western Great Lakes region for places like Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago, Rockford, Illinois, and over here toward portions of northwestern Indiana. We have a marginal risk over there as well, but the main concern is across the southern plains here. We have an enhanced risk, again, that's a level 3 out of 5 on the scale, from Lubbock down to Midland and east towards San Angelo, San Antonio, Houston, and just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, getting closer toward the Lake Charles vicinity in Louisiana. We are monitoring the threat for some very damaging wind gusts. We could be seeing winds over 75, perhaps over 80 miles per hour with this setup today. Anywhere you see these dashed lines, that's where we could see them. So setting up from Lubbock down to Midland, San Angelo, into the San Antonio area, and Houston, and then that could move its way eastward toward Lake Charles as well. We also have the threat for some very large hailstones. Those are the hailstones that could be 2 inches or larger in diameter. That is hen egg size or larger. So that's some pretty big hail out here for places like Amarillo, Lubbock, Midland, San Angelo, San Antonio, and Houston, and just south of the DFW Metroplex there. And we cannot rule out a couple of tornadoes. Anywhere you see green here, that is a 2% chance of tornadoes across most of Texas as we go through the day today. Let's look at the setup here. Dew points are into the 60s and low 70s right off the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico right at your disposal there. Texas is not very far away, so it will be easy to access those dew points in the 60s and low 70s. That will also be easy to access thunderstorm fuel. This is your CAPE, your convective available potential energy here. The higher the value, the better the chance for thunderstorms and thus severe weather. So looking here across western Texas and central Texas, those CAPE values are over 3,000 and even 4,000 joules per kilogram. So let's look at what the radar could look like this afternoon here. This is a simulation of what it could look like. We have ongoing thunderstorms across the Houston area, back over here towards Shreveport and Lake Charles this morning. That will continue into the afternoon. We're watching for new development here back to the west. Storms are going to blow up as we go into later on this evening and into the overnight hours, and you can see these storms are actually going to be packing a punch. Some supercells, some clusters of storms, wind gusts, again, over 75, perhaps over 80 miles per hour here, hail over 2 inches in diameter, and a couple of tornadoes cannot be ruled out, especially if we get more of those semi-discrete supercells. Then as we go into early Wednesday morning after midnight time frame, those storms will have a tendency to move east toward the I-35 corridor here, toward Dallas, toward Waco, and also down into the Austin region and into Victoria, Texas. We'll keep a close eye on that, but I think the storm intensity by then will start to wane as these storms push further east. These storms will also be capable of producing some very heavy rain. So on top of the severe weather threat, we could be seeing some torrential rains down here over the next 12 hours through your Wednesday morning commute. 1 to 3 inches, maybe isolated 4-inch totals of rain on either side of I-35 here, especially west though, as we go here and through the morning hours on Wednesday, and that has caused the Weather Prediction Center to upgrade to a moderate risk for flash flooding potential across north central Texas, in and around the DFW Metroplex, and west toward Abilene as we go through the Wednesday morning commute. And just to reiterate this, a moderate risk for flash flooding means numerous flash floods are likely here. Significant flash flooding is possible. Many streams may flood, potentially even affecting larger rivers in this area. So something to monitor as we go through Wednesday. Going into Wednesday as well, though, we have severe weather across the western and northwestern plains. This is portions of eastern Montana, the western Dakotas, eastern Wyoming, down into the panhandle there of Nebraska, northeastern Colorado, parts of northwestern Kansas, a small marginal risk down here into west central Texas as we go into Wednesday here. Then as we go into Thursday, basically from the Front Range into eastern Colorado, down here into the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas, into western Kansas as we go into the day on Thursday. And you can see Wednesday afternoon, we're going to be watching storms bubbling up here across the western and northwestern high plains. They'll start to grow a little bit more intense as we get into the peak heating there early Wednesday evening. Supercell thunderstorms capable of all modes here. Damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a tornado here. The tornado risk tomorrow looks a little bit lower than today. And then as we go into Thursday, more of the same. We have widespread storm activity across the plains here from the Dakotas all the way down to Texas. Those southernmost storms here could be a little feisty, again, with damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of tornadoes, especially for places like Nebraska, but Kansas, eastern Colorado, down into the Oklahoma, Texas panhandle, and into West Texas Thursday evening. And then so far for Friday to end the month of May, May 31st, there's no outlooked areas, but you know it's been a very active May, so I would not be shocked to see a marginal to slight risk for flash flooding, but also for some severe weather as we do go into this day. And speaking of the flash flooding threat, it will be elevated here. Looking at the rainfall totals through Saturday, June 1st, you can see from Nebraska southward through Kansas, Oklahoma, into Texas, especially North Texas, we could be seeing upwards of 6 inches worth of rain between now and Saturday, June 1st. So watching out for an elevated flash flooding risk there. And then up into parts of Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, and western Mississippi, near the Mississippi River Valley and west, we could be seeing some decent rains as well, with those slight risks for flash flooding continuing through June 1st. Let's look at June now, especially. So looking at early June, here's what the general weather pattern consensus is. We have a trough, a strong trough, just to the south of Alaska here off the Aleutian Islands and into western Canada. What that's going to do is allow a ridge to build across the western part of the country, even the middle of the country at times as well. And that ridge, it's been very hot down in Mexico, is actually going to build stronger further north. And that means a lot more heat will be building across the western third of the country, across the Rockies, the Intermountain West, and the central and southern plains as we go in through the first week there of June. From Saturday, June 1st through the following Saturday, June 8th, that will actually begin to dry us out a little bit across the plains and the Rockies here. We have that active weather closer to that trough axis toward Alaska, western Canada. So we're talking about portions of British Columbia here and the Pacific Northwest across the Cascades, but also into Washington State, Oregon, California, and also Idaho getting wet weather as well. And then on the other side of that ridge, we do have some flow over top of the ridge here in southern Canada. That may lead to some disturbances moving over the top there into the upper Midwest, and the eastern third of the country looks a little wet during that first week of the month. And then as we go into the second week of June here, Saturday, June 8th through the following Saturday, June 15th, you can see the ridge begins to back off a little bit further to the west. We get rid of that trough, or at least it weakens a lot more across portions of the Aleutian Islands, and a new trough begins to develop across the northeast here. That will lead to a little bit of some cooler temperatures, not cold by any means. We're talking about June here, but cooler temperatures than normal across portions of the northeast into the Ohio Valley, and the heat beginning to really crank out across the western third of the country. And you can see pretty dry across the middle of the country. The real wet weather will be across the east coast from Maine down to Florida and everywhere in between there. So watch out for that into the second week of June. Another thing we're concerned about, it is June, it is severe weather season here, so the Weather on the Go severe weather forecast for early June, this takes you through the 15th of the month. It does show more of an elevated area here with a medium confidence of severe weather in the orange, and in the red a high confidence where at least some severe weather events, maybe even a significant event or two, may be possible between June 1st and June 15th timeframe during that 15-day period. And that red area is across South Dakota, southern Minnesota, eastern Nebraska through the entire state of Iowa, southwest Wisconsin through portions of west central Illinois, the entire state here of Missouri, northern Arkansas, extreme northeastern Oklahoma, and eastern Kansas. That is the area of highest concern for some severe weather potential through the first half of the month of June. Of course, my official June forecast will be out in just a couple days. We'll be going over that and everything that you need to know about the entirety of the month of June. Make sure to subscribe to my channel down below. We'll also keep you covered on the severe weather and flash flooding potential, the excessive heat that's happening. We'll be doing a lot here on this channel, so make sure to subscribe down below. We'll keep you updated on the latest accurate information right at your fingertips. Make sure to press the like button down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those after the video, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Tuesday out there.